Video game hacking requires an extraordinary level of skill. It's no easy feat to find bugs that you can exploit to work in your favor, or straight up modify the game's code. Maybe that's why we love hearing about hacking. Or maybe it's the godlike ability you can get in games with the right hack. That said, here are the most insane ways hackers have changed games. First up, World of Warcraft kill commands. Imagine logging into World of Warcraft and going about your day in the game when you suddenly come across a pile of corpses stretched across as far as the eye can see. But that is exactly the experience players had one day in 2012 when they wandered into specific zones in the game. Some hackers managed to find an exploit that gave them direct access to the kill commands, not just for every NPC, but also for every single player in the area. This allowed them to cause players to drop like flies whenever they wanted to. The hack only worked in the towns of Orgrimmar and Stormwind, but it was still devastating. Blizzard obviously went into panic mode with such a game-breaking exploit being used to kill off players. Still, it took them over 4 hours to issue a hotfix to stop the massacre. The efforts to stop them took longer because the hack could be used by level 1 players too, so every time the hackers got banned, they'd simply join with a new account. They never revealed just how they were able to access the kill commands, but apparently whatever Blizzard did worked because it never happened again. What's interesting here is that the hackers defended their actions, saying they didn't do any permanent damage to the game or its economy, and actually berated Blizzard for taking so long to stop them. Blizzard issued an apology for allowing the exploit to happen in the first place and started a thorough investigation. Next, we have Cubic Ninja Nintendo 3DS hack. The fact that this hack was even discovered speaks to how smart some gamers can be with figuring out how to use features to do unintended actions for their own benefit. It all started when 22-year-old Jordan Rabe wanted to figure out a way to run homebrew games on his 3DS. Normally, this would require modifying the console's code and would only work for a few specific versions of the firmware. This hack, though, was super easy to do and could work with any version of the Nintendo 3DS. All you need is an internet connection, an SD card, and the little-known game called Cubic Ninja. Here's how it worked. Cubic Ninja came with a QR code scanning feature to allow players to share levels with each other. Each uniquely generated level had its own QR code that the game would read and then proceed to install said level. Rabbit decided to make its own custom QR code that, when scanned, would change the 3DS software to allow it to accept games run from the SD card. And there you have it. You could now run any game you wanted for free. All you had to do was download the ROM on an SD card. This news was worrying for Nintendo. The studio that developed Cubic Ninja didn't exist anymore, so it was unclear how anyone would patch the game to prevent misuse. Eventually, though, in May 2016, Nintendo released a patch on the 3DS firmware that prevented Cubic Ninja from accessing the internet at all, effectively rendering the hack useless. And now for GTA V, hacker fixes online load times. This is one of the rare times a hacker modifying the game code resulted in a happy ending for everyone involved. Programmer Tost was annoyed with how long GTA Online took to load on his PC. His reasoning was that even though his setup was pretty dated, the single-player component loaded up to 6 times as fast compared to GTA Online. So he decided to do a little digging in the game files. What he discovered was one specific folder that was being checked in a really inefficient way at load time. Basically, the game checked each in-game item, which doesn't really take a lot of time. But with 63,000 individual items, it starts to add up. And guess what? It was also checking the hash value of each item against every other item. So that's a total of nearly 2 billion item checks each time the game was being loaded. He was able to tweak the code and fix this problem, and his load times got reduced from 6 minutes to 1 minute and 50 seconds. That's almost a 70% reduction. He posted about it online, and the issue got so much attention that Rockstar themselves implemented the fix for all players. What's more, they gave Trost a $10,000 reward for helping them find the bug. Next up is FIFA Coins Generator. Not all hackers decide to use their abilities for good. Sometimes the potential personal gain is too tempting to resist, and so they don't simply point out the issue to the public and instead exploit it for their own purposes. Basically, FIFA has an in-game currency called FIFA Coins. These coins can be earned inside the game or bought with real-world money, which is where the hack comes in. Anthony and his friends made some code that effectively generated a massive amount of FIFA coins for them, which they then sold online. All in all, they were able to bring in a total of $16 million running this enterprise. Pretty lucrative for a few kids tweaking a video game, right? Sadly, this story has a tragic end. As the money started rolling in, it caught the attention of not just EA Games, but the FBI and the IRS. He was arrested and his money and assets seized. Clark maintained that he hadn't done anything wrong, and his friends and family believed him. He planned to fight the charges in court, but then before his sentencing, he was found dead in his home from a painkiller overdose. And now for H1Z1 Bandwave. H1Z1 is a zombie survival game released by Daybreak Games. It was similar to DayZ, so there's a lot of hype before launch. When the game did come out, something happened. Hackers infested the game, and an entire second economy opened up of people selling cheats and hacks, like aimbots, or software to let you see through walls or know the exact location of other players. This information was valuable in a hardcore survival game. The cheating got so prevalent that the president of Daybreak, John Smedley, took to ranting on Twitter about them. Then a wave of bans went out, with around 30,000 players being banned in one day for using hacks. Smedley offered a way out: make a video, apologize publicly, and you'll get your account back. He was hoping that this way the cheaters would learn their lesson and the public humiliation would be enough to deter future cheaters. But he soon realized there was a problem. Out of 30,000 banned players, only 3 made the videos. And of those 3, one was threatened with a second ban for making the video apology private after he was forgiven. Smedley's plan didn't quite work out because no one wanted their face in a public apology over a video game. So none of the banned accounts were ever reinstated. And this was such a huge loss to the H1Z1 player base that the game was basically dead. Servers were always empty, which made even fewer people want to play, and the hype went away when the players did. This is one of the only examples of hackers being able to essentially kill an entire game, albeit accidentally. Finally, we have Xbox Underground. You better brace yourself because this one is just absolutely insane. It's not focused on any one specific game, but that's because this hack was so pervasive, so huge, that one game is nothing for its scope. Xbox Underground was a small group of hackers who managed to gain access to the developer version of Xbox Live. This was filled with early builds and unreleased content for a lot of games, put here for testers to access before the official release. So right off the bat, they were able to play games and DLC that wasn't available to the public yet. It gets even more insane from here. Somehow, they found the password for the Epic Games Network administrator, which they used to get into their network. Once on the network, they found the source code for Gears of War, which hadn't been released yet. They were smart and didn't tell anyone, but the adrenaline rush was too much to give up. They dug deeper. One by one, they broke into every major game studio and gained access to source code for unreleased games. Studios like Bungie, Activision, Valve, EA, Blizzard, Zombie Studios, Intel, and Microsoft. It didn't last long though. They even found an Apache helicopter simulator being developed for the US Army by Zombie Studios. They felt powerful, and they started to get reckless. As word got out, they were eventually all arrested and charged with heavy sentences and fines. This case was also partially responsible for the indictment of Anthony Clark. It goes without saying that even with video games, actions have very real consequences. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think is the most insane hack on this list? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.